Hey folks, in this episode we talked to Rob and Alex, the co-founder of Highlevel. Highlevel is a very fast-growing white label SaaS platform. They just recently crossed 20,000 users, and they've only been in business for 3.5, 4 years. We go into everything from bootstrapping to raising their Series A to hiring and firing, exits, acquisitions, and a lot of cool stuff. I personally feel like I dropped the ball on this one. I made it kind of feel like an interrogation because I was asking questions, digging for gold for you guys. And in that, I think the episode doesn't meet my standards of quality. However, I'd love your feedback and what you guys think. So let me know in the comments below after you've watched it. Nevertheless, it's an amazing podcast, and Robin and his co-founders went from 0 to 15,000 users bootstrapped, and so that story is very interesting. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you inside. Peace. Awesome. So, what do you call, before I kind of get started, I just want to know, is there something that we shouldn't touch on, like MRRs or like any numbers or employees or anything like that?
Nothing I could think of. I mean, if there is, I have a good answer for something. How about that?
Yeah, and I don't mind bleeping things out. I just want to, some people don't want to talk about numbers and stuff. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I'll probably, I mean, on the direct revenue numbers, we generally give ranges,
okay,
like within buckets, essentially.
got it. And
Yeah.
do you have exactly 45 minutes, or could you kind of go over?
Yeah, plenty of time.
Okay, awesome. So I'm excited to kind of have you on because you like the way you guys kind of grew Highlevel was very interesting. And you want to talk, like, people talk about the rule of 40. You guys like knocked it out of the park. And the first time I heard of it was on an interview with Jeff Miller, where you were kind of, initially, I guess, talking about it. I don't even know if you guys were publicly getting clients on at that time, right? Around 2019, I think.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as the first time you saw us, we were getting clients.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, back in
Okay.
2018.
2018. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, for people that don't know you, can you give a brief introduction of who you are and what do you do?
Yeah. My name is Robin Alex, based out here in Dallas, Texas. I'm one of the co-founders of Highlevel. Started back in end of 2017, getting in 2018, and I guess 5 years later, we just broke 20,000 customers, a little over that now, worldwide. That 20,000 represents, well over 800, 900,000 small businesses
That's
around the
amazing.
world. So it's awesome to see the impact that that we're able to help support really the agencies, because the agencies are the ones doing all the hard work that's out there.
Yeah. Those numbers are crazy. You just hit 20,000, right?
Yeah. Last we actually we broke it December 31st. So
No
right at
way.
the yeah. So we were definitely hitting the refresh button of like, are we gonna hit it? Are we gonna hit it? And then we hit it. So
That's
it's a pretty
awesome.
cool monumental moment for us.
So I want to, like, you guys have done some very interesting stuff. You guys got funded in 2021, right? November,
Yes, that
Series
is
A.
correct. Yeah.
But at that time you were doing 15K in users, I think, recurring users.
Yeah, right around there. Yeah.
Yeah, which I find very interesting because you guys started in 2017, 2018. But like, you know, how do you go about doing this? The idea of this is so out of the realm of people's minds, even mine. What you've created here is Shopify for CRMs or Shopify for SaaS, which is getting giving like no code ability to SaaS users or agency owners, right? Which I could have never thought of, but not just me, no one could have thought of, because white label software has existed, but not at the scale that you guys have. So like, did you guys think of this initially, or was this like a development over, a previous MVP or something?
Yeah, no, I definitely believe it's the latter, right? So the way that we started out was, I started out as an agency owner, and the biggest challenge that every agency owner dealt with at that time is you can drive leads, right? You can be the best at Google ads, Facebook ads, whatever it is. And you can push those to your customer, but the customer, the SMB, just they're not built to be a sales machine, right? They're going to be the best at being the local business. They're going to be the best at being the flower shop, the best at being the dentist. They don't know how to pick up the phone and, work leads. And, the biggest effort in keeping clients and reducing churn is like, how can I somehow turn that business into a sales machine, right? You're handing them leads, you're trying to show them the report saying like, look, no one is calling them. If you call them, and then you get into the rule of five, right? Like, you got 5 minutes to call them, MIT lead
Yeah.
study.
Yeah.
You're going to get higher conversion rates. And let me show you the value of that. And you just kind of continue, rebuilding that whole process until you're just like, oh my gosh, they're just not going to do it. If they had to pick between going to clean someone's teeth or fixing a car as a mechanic or calling leads, they would always pick what they love, right? They're going to pick,
there's a lot of laziness. And, I noticed this, and it's interesting you bring this up, because there's I guess, general sentiment in the industry that is, hey, there's something wrong with the business owner, because they don't reach out to the lead within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But when you see it at such a large scale, you're like, hey, maybe that isn't the case. Was that what you kind of noticed?
100%. I mean, I honestly don't think it's actually laziness, right? With the first day that you, as a mechanic, we'll just use that as example, or the plumber, when you stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to start my own plumbing business, sales is actually not the first thing that you think about, right? It's, I need to get a truck, and
Right.
I want to do what I love.
Right.
I want to go out and drive and help people fix their plumbing issues or fix their car issues as a mechanic, or clean people's teeth, or, work on people's teeth. Like, that's what you think about as your day-to-day. Never in the rules of starting a business are you pitched, guess what? Part of your day is picking up the phone and starting to call people who might be interested, but may not be, but you got to kind of convince them, only to get them to come in.
Yeah.
And then you got to sell them again. Yeah. Right. Like, no one ever pitches you on that side of the side.
Yeah. Everyone... That's very interesting. Like, small businesses, that is the very, like, if you're starting a business with a lot of budget and funding, and, you have MBAs you've hired, they will like kind of build a business plan, and they go like, hey, we need sales, we need this, that. But the average small business owner never thinks of this,
No, they're thinking of referrals, right? The second that I put the billboard up saying that I am starting my mechanic shop, my phone's going to ring, because it's going to be all my friends, and all my friends are going to call their friends and tell them to come in, and they're just going to show up. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that is going to happen, but there's a limit to how much that is going to bring in. And so, as an agency, they're paying me and my team to deliver leads, because that's the next thing. Like, once you cap out on your referrals, it's, I need more. But as a new business owner, you think the more is more of what you currently have, right, not another type of lead. Right. And so at that point, we were like, you know what, they're just not answering the phone, or they're just not texting. So let's kind of create some way to do it. And, we hooked up stuff in Zapier, and we're trying to do it for businesses, and we had, general success there, but at a certain point, it's just not enough. And it was very clunky and not scalable. You're always, it's now a new business and managing Zapier. Yeah. And, so we basically took that, and that was honestly kind of where we started as the first MVP. And we went out to the agency world to saying, we have a solution for you to help make this easier. You don't need Google Sheets anymore. You don't need Zapier. You don't need, all these automation tools and things like that to make the small little process there. And then, just as Highlevel grew over time, we listened to our community. We have the ideas board. We're heavy in our Facebook group, and we are literally getting on calls with customers every single day. And, what we hear every single day is like, wow, this is awesome. Mm-hmm. Have you thought about doing this? Or have you thought, this feature? Or what if you added this? That's going to be the game changer. And that's honestly how we kept reiterating and adding more and more features over time.
So I wanna talk about that, but before I go into that, your early adopters and your innovators who you listen to, before we get into that, before you went out to the agency world and you pitched it, when you built it for yourself, you said you built it for yourself, right? Initially?
Yeah. So the quick story there is, I had the agency. Sean and Varun, my other two co-founders, were actually starting a, software application, and they actually were building it more in the reputation management side. Mm-hmm. And what they were doing, they struggled quite a bit by selling directly to the small business. Right. And they run into the same problem, right? The small business doesn't know how to hook up Google My Business, or I don't know where my logins are and stuff like that. And, by luck, they had reached out to one of my clients on the agency side. So we had a co-customer together. And that customer did the right thing, saying, I don't know how to log into things. I don't know anything. Let me give you my marketing team's phone number. So then Sean actually called me, and, I helped them get set up. And then I kind of told them like what we're struggling at, and was just curious, like, what would it take to build something like this? Because we had actually mapped it out on a whiteboard, kind of just the initial MVP concept. And they're like, that's interesting. Like, we built a couple of pieces, here and that. Let me get back to you in a couple of days. weird response from developer,
Yeah.
not asking for money or anything. Just you just assume that any software company that's out there selling is doing something generally big or they're focused or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
And
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
but Sean and Varun, they're a different, they're beasts in what they've been able to accomplish.
Were at that time, were they generating significant revenue? Is that why you're surprised, or were they kind of small?
No, they were actually small. They only had, less than, a handful of customers, call it 10 or less customers.
Yeah.
But, just perceptionally, right?
Right. Right.
When
Yeah.
people, you
Yeah.
contact someone who has a support application,
Yeah.
you just kind of assume there's infrastructure in place and
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
They had
Yeah.
built a really cool application on the reputation management side. And when I kind of told them my idea, they're like, "Oh, give us a couple of days." And I just kind of took it out. Oh, they're just brushing me off, right? Like they're not gonna
Right.
call me back. And
100%.
I
Yeah.
remember very clearly Sean calling me and Varun on the line. It's like, "Hey, we kind of I think we kind of built what you're looking for." This is like 2 days later. And I was like, who is this again? I forgot. And they're like, no, are you in front of a computer? And I was like, actually, give me 20 minutes. Let me get to my office. And, drove into the office. We got on a Zoom call and they kind of wired it together. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Can I buy it for my agency to my
Right.
customers? And, we loaded up for 20 or 30 customers and just immediate success. Like it was amazing. And then from there, I was like, you know what, guys, I can't hold this, all to myself as kind of the MVP. I have some other ideas that we need to keep layering in, but we need to get more feedback. I can help you guys get more customers. And so basically, I went through my Rolodex and reached out to 20 or so agencies and basically said, hey, there's this new application that we're working on. We'd love for you to try it out. And, 20 of them all came in and they loved it. And one of them happened to be a business coach in the agency space and actually said, this is amazing. You guys saved me tons of money. He asked us to fly out. And that's actually the first time that we sold it on
Wait,
stage.
is this
Rob Bailey?
Is this it, Ravi?
No, Rob Bailey.
Rob Bailey. Okay.
Yeah.
So now my question is, at this point, do you have the sub accounts, or is it still a standalone MVP that's being sold like kind of in an affiliate way?
No, so we had the sub account concept in place from the beginning. That was actually one of the immediate needs that we needed from the beginning because we're servicing many customers.
Yeah.
And then from there, we never had a sales team. It was always word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was honestly the way that we approached it. And even today, sales is not our strong suit.
Yeah.
We just let the good product speak for itself. And if people, want to share their link, they get monetized along the way as well.
Right. Yeah. So you reach out to Rob Bailey. Rob Bailey reaches out to you and flies you out. And now, do you pitch on stage or what goes on there?
Yeah, I mean, yes, in quotes. I mean, it was a room of 20 or 30 other people in a room. So there's no real stage. It's just kind of it's more of a mastermind. But it was a great event. And it was funny, like we only had like a 45-minute slot and we were just literally on the plane flight there. I was creating like a page to take orders. Literally, like it was that crazy.
Yeah.
And I spun it up pretty quick. We get there on site. And then Sean and I just kind of talk. We have Varun, who's in Qatar, who's on the TV behind us on Zoom.
No way.
Yeah. And then, we're just talking about the product. Like we didn't know how to pitch. We're just talking like, hey, we've seen some cool things. If you're interested, here's the page. And we just thought it was going to be crickets. And what was crazy is, if I remember the numbers correctly, there's 20 people in the room and like another 20 people virtually. And it was like radio silent when we were done because you could just tell everyone's mind was thinking, but we're also nervous, kind of presenting something new. And then it's just question after question after question after question of how amazing and we got to do this, add this feature, things of that nature. And I want to say in the room, like all 19 people purchased immediately and people were asking like, hey, can we also do an annual license? So here I am like running back to my computer, like, how do I create this real quick, on a landing page to make the purchase there?
So you guys didn't even have that option of buy a year up front.
We didn't even know that was something that we thought we were expensive coming out the gate.
Right.
But people bought immediately.
And that was $297?
It was $297 back then. Well, it still is today. And we created the annual component. And then people were like, oh, can I create a white label mobile app? I was like, all right, well, let me figure out how to create another,
So I want to talk on this. So that room was your first customers.
Yeah.
So now this is a very important question for me. It's like, how important was it? Like to give them crazy customer service in order to grow? Like, did you guys really like hop on calls with them and like just really be one-on-one with them to figure out what it is they need and how do we solve these problems in order to crossing the chasm kind of thing? It's like you have your early adopters, you have your innovators, you give them all the attention and then they spread the word. Is that what ultimately happened?
That was ultimately what happened, but it wasn't by design.
Okay.
It was we didn't know any other way to provide success to customers. So why wouldn't we get on a call with our customers and help
Right.
them find a winning, right?
Yeah.
And then from there it was, well, we did it for these, so they're not telling their friends and it's getting, the word's getting out. Yeah, just keep coming on my Zoom. I want to help you get to success.
Right.
Like there was no alternative option there, nor did we want to do an alternative option because
Yeah.
that's boring and it's, humanless in many ways. And if somebody cancels, like, oh, they're just
Exactly.
gone. Like I feel pain. Sean and Varun also feel extreme pain when we
Same
find out that's
here.
canceled,
Yeah.
right? And what we learned is that is actually a winning model for us. And that's actually how we've scaled our teams. Like we have 40 people plus that their whole job is to help people get onboarded. Today, the same model. We haven't changed that. I mean, even our support channels, we tried to do what every other company does and we failed horribly, right? Like, no, just submit a ticket and we'll get back to you a certain
Right.
time.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're trying to scale it up as fast as possible. The problem is our customer account is growing so big and the use case and trying to hire people to be able to support it. Being able to be comfortable to jump on a Zoom call with you and understand what you're going in, not only the empathy side, but the technical knowledge takes time. But that is actually what we're developing our company to being around. It's trying to be as human as possible. Because if we can support you at that point of success,
Yeah.
we're basically arming you so that you can go out and serve your 10, 20, 50, 100 customers, and if you win, we'll win. And the small business will win downstream as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen a SaaS company or SaaS business that did not give a lot of attention or as much attention as they could to their early adopters. When I say early adopters, listen, at one point you cannot hop on calls with everyone, right? You need to hire these people, your staff. But initially, every single founder was hopping on Zoom calls, was helping every single person with nitty gritty stuff, just so that and it's not even, hey, you'll spread the word, or hey, you're gonna keep sticking on. It's like, this is what I kind of owe it to you, kind of, right? Because like I've given you the software, but I owe it to you to kind of get you to figure out how to use it. How important is it? So just touch on this a little bit. You've already mentioned enough, but how important is it for a person starting their SaaS business? Right now you have Highlevel SaaS, and a lot of people are in there. How important is it for them to not shy away from customer service? Because a lot of people are trying to outsource it. Like, how do I take care of it so I never have to worry about it? How do you, like, how important is it for them to prioritize that?
Oh, I think that's one of the, key points to having success. You can be, it's a very competitive landscape, right? There's many hundreds of, thousands of products out there, all trying to fight to get the consumer's attention. And in the small business space, it is extremely challenging. Go back to the plumber, go back to the mechanic. You try to call the mechanic to try getting on a sales call. He might answer the phone. And if you can get him past, kicking you off the phone, halfway through that sales conversation, he's going to then say, oh, I got a customer. Then he's got to go out to the garage to fix something because a customer walked in, right?
Yeah.
How many other businesses are doing the same thing? But the difference of you creating that awesome customer experience is when there's a problem, they want to know that they can pick up the phone and call and talk to Mo or talk to Robin, not let me call a toll-free number.
Exactly. And get passed around.
Yeah, they'll never know who I am. I'm just a number to them. They're going to kick me off the platform. And, as just to be completely transparent, as fast as we're growing, that is a challenge that we're trying to work through because we want to keep that humanistic, experience as much as possible. But just at scale, you got to put in a couple of modules. And so what we're basically focusing on is like when somebody calls our toll-free number, you can pick one of the teams. And then those teams, basically, they all their phones basically round robin. So you do get a hold of somebody, or you can come into our success room. And yeah, there might be a little bit of a waiting room, but we're willing to, force you to wait, with a realistic time, knowing that you're going to get an A+ experience on the back end. right? You can't have it both ways. You can't just have
Right.
the horrible wait times and horrible experience. If you have to give up one, we
Yeah.
decided just give a little bit of wait time so you can get that great experience. And I think that translates down to the SaaSpreneurs downstream as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Scale is very crazy, but still, listen, like we have, Sean always in the comments, right? Every single time. So, like, I mean, it's crazy to see a CEO, being in the comments, in the nitty gritty, answering questions, at 20,000 users. It's crazy. So, a lot of it, a lot of your stuff was word of mouth, right? Did like at what point did you think of running ads? Did you run it after that event, or where did you go like, hey, I should run ads? And do you still run ads, or are they stopped now?
We run ads, but not at the level that you think. We run ads because we know that competitors run ads on our brand.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to outbid them. We
Keywords and
also,
yeah.
yeah. So from that perspective, we do it. We do a little bit of retargeting, but if I was to look at our overall advertising budget, it's probably less than 2% that we're spending to advertising. But we do it in-house, and we work with third-party companies as well. One, we want to know the latest tips and tricks because we need to backfill it into our product, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if we can't eat our own, I used to say eat our own dog food, but now I say we got to eat our own cake.
Yeah.
We got to
Yeah.
know how to use it, and we also have to be in the feed of what our customers are doing, right?
Yeah.
Every single one of our customer is doing some form of advertising, whether it's on Google, Facebook, TikTok, or whatever. And so we can build stuff, but if we don't know the actual use case, it makes it
Right.
real challenging. And so who better to learn it than ourselves as
Yeah.
well, right? So
Yeah.
so we're in the trenches with our customers day in and day out.
Got it. And so now you're saying majority of your revenues come from affiliates or people spreading the word themselves, right?
Yeah, I mean it's all organic. Let me put it
Organic.
that
Okay.
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
everything is organic. We don't do a lot of paid advertising. Some of it comes from affiliates who are using their word of mouth, their platforms, their customer base. And then a lot of it, we're starting to get larger that are just natural organic side of
Right.
things. Maybe they heard it from a friend or something
Exactly.
like that.
Yeah. So it's
And
not
just
even affiliates, just like the product's so good, people are spreading the word, right?
yeah, exactly.
Um, so okay, so now I'm gonna get into numbers. So what is your current MRR? The range.
MRR, yeah, if I was gonna bucket it, it's greater than 4, less than 7.
Got it. I thought, yeah, like I've done the numbers. I thought it was around 6, 5.56. Now is like I remember when I first started out, the package that you had at 97, people couldn't like permanently stay at, right? It was like you stay at for like a month or 2 months and then you had to like upgrade. Was that not the
There's no timeline. It's basically based on how many customers you have. That's the way that we think about it.
got it?
So
Got it.
once you exceed one
Yeah.
customer, you really should be upgrading to 297 because it is an agency platform. And we see a lot of people start in many different forms. And so we don't like to gate, the
Right.
usability
Yeah.
side of the product.
Yeah.
We want the product to sell itself and we want to reduce that barrier. So that's why we have the $97 program. And usually if you're a new agency starting up, you want to try it out for yourself or maybe just your first customer. And once you get that first taste of success, it's like, yep, I hit the checkbox, the
Exactly.
product is doing what I need.
Yeah.
Then I'll move up to 297.
Yeah. Yeah. And how sticky is the business? How sticky are the users? I personally think they'd be very sticky. I've been on it for like 3 years now. So
Yeah.
uh
It's extremely sticky as long as you have one customer that's in the platform that's paying you.
no, I'm
That
saying
is,
the other way around. I'm saying how sticky are your users?
oh, yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like for
Okay,
us,
okay. So okay, got it. Yeah. Yeah.
if
If they
the
have one
agency,
user. Yeah.
yeah, if the agency can find success with one customer, which most agencies do,
Yeah.
not only are we increasing, reducing their churn numbers, our churn numbers are, very small because of that.
What is
You
that
know,
like on annual churn?
on annual churn, it's right at about, for that cohort, if they have one, it's less than, 1.5%.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got
so
it.
it's extremely low. Now, where we see the biggest number is just like anything else. When people come in and they've never had a taste of success or they're true startup and they really don't have a foundation of business, that is where they really, we're not ready for them and they're not ready for us,
Got
right?
it. And
Because
these are people on the trial mainly, would you say?
yeah, they come in on trial. They might try it for a month.
Got it.
They're coming in with a hope and a vision. right?
Yeah.
Like I saw some training online. I'm going to become an agency owner. I need to get the software. I need to learn the software. And ultimately they're back to square one again of, but I still don't have any customers. And
Yeah.
getting that first customer in the agency space is usually the biggest mental hurdle that you gotta, you're talking about
Yeah.
crossing the chasm. In
Yeah.
many ways, it's like a mental
Yeah.
thing of like it's
100%.
validation. And that is really hard. And so that's where we see our biggest churn aspiration. And we're working really hard. We're going to be, very soon dropping more trainings, more coaching programs and stuff like a course and things like that
Course
we
and
can
stuff.
give my
Yeah.
students.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just a lot of times it's just motivation, different strategies and tactics to really pick up that one customer. But once you get that first customer, our stickiness rate is amazing there.
Got it. And so like you built this stuff for yourself, and then you got the first few customers. How much money were you in the hole uh before? Like, were you profitable out the gate, or like what was the case there?
Yeah, so the product was bootstrapped by Sean Byrne and me. You know, Sean put up the first seed amount. He actually sold his SaaS business prior to this called Invoice Sherpa. Sold that, put that in. Varun worked tirelessly day and night, invested, quite a bit there. And then on my side, I had the agency and we actually were manning the teams, through the agency and side like that. So we were bootstrapping any angle that we could get, just make it work. But I'd say profitability happened because we were bootstrapped. We didn't have a sales team. We didn't have advertising in the model. I think we were, probably in the first 3 to 6 months, we were, cash flow positive.
Got it. And what was the the amount of money invested? Like on it was mainly Sean bringing the money to the table.
Uh, Not directly. I mean,
Like
like
initial
there,
that was the like the because they had the initial product and you weren't part of the equation. So like it was built on top of that product, right?
yeah, kind of.
Okay,
Like it's not as cut and dry as that.
got it.
But sure. I mean, if we want to run it that way, I'd probably say 40, 50 grand on that component, but that's not where the cost ends, right? Like
Yeah,
once it goes live,
yeah.
someone's got to front, you got to put cash up, you got to put resources up, you
Servers,
got to
all
put
that stuff.
humans, like
Yeah,
humans start coming in, right? Like it comes in many different forms. And so, when we started, we try to use any angle that we could, not only in negotiating costs down, we're moving people over from the agency side. Hey, you need to come over and, fulfill stuff on the Highlevel side.
yeah.
We're trying to work with other developers, friends in our networks, just come in and help. And then once luckily it didn't take a long time. And so we
Yeah.
were able to kind of make
It
it right
was
very
like
quickly.
I'm like I'm very shocked. Like because like it's not like the thing is like you can have success, right? Like the success you've had, it's just the amount of time you've had it in. There was like the execution was very fast. So that's something I'm very impressed with. I'm going to talk more about hiring and stuff and how you guys have done that. Um, but at the moment, like, would you say that you have zero CAC,
Um,
$0 CAC mainly,
yeah,
like because of
it
like
depends.
the word
Yeah,
of mouth?
it depends on how you're trying to quantify it. In some conversations, it is $0 CAC. In some areas, you have to equate the time in getting someone converted, right? It's one thing to bring a trial on. There's a lot of dollars that's devoted to making sure that someone converts from trial to paid. And that's really that onboarding experience and the human that's associated there.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
back
yeah,
with
yeah.
teams
Man
and stuff like
hours.
that. So,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So from that, if you're just looking at it black and white, advertising spend, sales team, and all that, yeah, it's as close as to zero as possible.
It's crazy. It's crazy interesting. In 2021, you end up getting funded. Why raise a Series A?
Yeah, so we were profitable going into it. We could have continued running the business, as is and kept moving forward. Once you get to a certain size, though, the challenge that we were running into is not scaling the software side of the application. You're running into the unknowns of, there's different strategies in how you spin up teams, different strategies in how you move, to your next, if you're trying to go IPO,
Right,
I don't have anyone I can call to say
right,
what's the strategy there,
right.
or
So it was
how do you.
more like guidance
Yeah, it's more strategy along the way.
strategy.
Going
Yeah,
through that process was was definitely interesting. I mean, it's definitely a learning experience for all three of us. When we went to market, everybody was interested. Everyone thought we had a great business, but with a lot of venture cap and private equity, they come in and they basically say, "Hey Mo, I'm going to hand you this much money, but along with that, I'm handing you this playbook." And the
Right.
reason that people invest into us is because of the special book that we have. It is your job now to take this money and take this
Yeah.
book and execute against this playbook. And that is how we're going to get a future valuation or a future exit of some sort.
Right.
And when we were talking to all these private equity firms and VCs, they basically looked at us and said, "Yeah, either you got to go our way or we
Or no.
can't help
Yeah.
you."
I mean, that's
Right.
usually the case. Yeah.
Right. And many of them were like, "We're even hesitant to continue moving forward because you guys are doing something in such a crazy way that we haven't seen
Yeah.
that we're removing ourselves from
It's
the
too
equation."
new. It's too weird. Yeah.
It's too weird, right? Like
Yeah.
no one has, kind of cracked the model on here
Yeah.
to basically, and they have to share it back to their investors, right?
Right.
And those investors are coming from traditional businesses or acquired money and very
Yeah.
traditional.
So wait, you guys actually went to funds? Like, I mean, at the point that you were, sorry, not funds, venture funds, like venture capital, like because you guys were at a point where you didn't need that. I mean, you could have just gone to, like, you went to private equity ultimately, right?
Yeah, we work with the investment banker, and they're the ones that have all the
Got it.
contacts and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So,
Got it.
just whatever they did. And honestly, we were just looking at it as, the market is going crazy.
Hmm.
Worst is, we can get our valuation figured out. We'll learn, like it's almost like free consulting along the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we basically took it as like, just like selling your home. The only way that you'll know what the value of it is worth is by putting it on the market.
Right.
And that's honestly the only reason that we did it. It wasn't that we needed to move. We weren't planning on moving or
You were
anything
just
like
trying to
that.
see what people are willing to pay,
And
how
what
much the interest was, and
mostly through COVID, right? Like the whole business
yeah,
landscape shaped differently.
multiples sucked and everything sucked. Yeah.
Yeah, and so towards the end of COVID, multiples were at an insane
Yeah.
level, right?
Now they're
So we
down,
were
by
just
the way.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so we were just like, what is going on? And
Yeah.
we don't have people to call or contact and ask
Yeah.
what's going on here, right? So
Yeah.
this was the only way that we thought we could pull it off. And, we could always say no along the way. And luckily we landed with, Peak Equity, and they basically said, we don't want you guys to change your business fundamentally. We actually don't want to evolve ourselves too much into that. What we need help with is, on the back end, right? Like, how do you scale up the teams? How do you put more
Right.
management structures in place? But you guys have to keep doing what you're doing because that's what's making you different out in the world.
Yeah.
And why stop pouring gasoline on that?
Yeah. And
Right.
that, like, usually that pressure that usually comes from funding is something that, people, like, I've spoken to people where they feel like they're trapped in their business, like it's now a job just because they got funding and now they have to follow what people are telling them to do and whatnot. So you guys, had a good partnership, and now, like, you're not too much under pressure or anything. You can do what you want. I mean, you can continue going the way you want, and they can help you out by supplementing or complementing
Yeah,
wherever they kind of
yeah,
come into play.
yeah, exactly. And in our case, we definitely had an interesting deal in that Peak Equity took a minority interest, so we still own majority of the company between Sean Vern and I, as well as our team, which is something that was important to us. And so we rolled out stock options to our
Yeah.
team, which
So
is a fun process because we wouldn't be here without them.
that's
And
awesome. Yeah.
and so it was really important that not only did they get proper equity and stuff in the company, but they're a part of the ride. So between all of us, we own majority of the company. And so we still get to run day to day, and we still get to do it,
Yeah.
our way. And I feel like a lot of other people who do take money, they give up more than they should from that
Right.
controlling perspective. And then also what we've also seen in the market and kind of the old, through COVID, you can go raise money and be an unprofitable company. And so coming back to that playbook model, you kind of have to follow the playbook because that's the only way that you're going to receive money. So from that
Yeah.
perspective, we happen to be fortunate from that perspective of if things go sideways, we're still comfortable in the business and we would still be
Yeah.
doing great.
Yeah. Your numbers are too. I mean, I was. Did anyone approach you for acquisition before you ever thought of raising?
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of what led us to going to market is just, we're getting unsolicited offers and we're
Right.
like, I don't know, is this good or bad? Or is somebody trying to pull, wool over our eyes? Because you're just getting a random email like, hey, let's jump on a call and let's talk about this one. Like,
Right.
who are you? What is going on?
Yeah.
And then we were advised, by our CFO of like, you really need to contact some experts who are this. And then we were led into an investment banker, and not only to fulfill those unsolicited ones, but like, what is going on? Like, how should we be handling this? But yeah, that was how it's kind of started the whole conversation.
Yeah, that's how you know you have a good business. Like, because like I said, you are kind of like a unicorn in the space. Other people are millions of dollars in, unprofitable, not cash flow positive, and they're still valued or whatever. But the point is, like, if something like you exists in the marketplace, you're bound to get these inbound acquisition offers and stuff. So it's interesting. It's very like what you've done is very interesting. It's funny that you guys didn't kind of realize that. Like if I
Yeah, we're in the thick of things, right? Like
yeah,
I'm on calls, like after this, I'm on a call with a customer, right? Like even
right.
today, it's the same thing. Like I always give the analogy to my team of like sometimes, yeah, it's like the claw machine. You go down and you're just working, trying to take care of everything there, and it's hard to pull yourself up and just kind of look around of what's going on. And so, for us in that lens was, let's go find someone who they can focus on that. We got to go back to the business, and that's what we enjoy personally.
Yeah. And so you raised at 60 million. What did you raise at? Like what valuation did you raise at?
I believe it was 250.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And that was at 15K users, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah. I think they got a deal. I really think they got a deal because even at 15K users, like the value of the company is a lot more. And just in my opinion, like the future of it and whatnot. We can talk about the future in a second. Um, we spoke about customer service and whatnot. Was the community that you built luck or was it planned?
It wasn't planned, but I wouldn't say it was luck either. It was a necessity. You know, everybody in the agency space lives on Facebook. That is really the core of how we communicate. And because we are, deep into our community, that's the way that we responded. When we first started, we actually didn't have a Facebook group. I take that back. We had a Facebook group, but we had a Facebook chat group as well.
Right.
And so that's actually how we provided live support. We didn't have a
And
help desk
and then you
system.
had the Slack as well, right? Or
No. So we actually started out in Facebook as
okay.
a group chat for anyone
Okay.
who joined our community. And that's
Yeah.
actually how we started support. And then Facebook basically sent an email saying we're overusing that thing. There's too many users jumping in. So we're
Yeah.
like, okay, we're gonna scrap it. And then it was, let's try to do it in the Facebook group, but it's not real time. So that's when we actually pushed over to Slack and we created the high levelers chat. And and in many ways we're exceeding the capacity on what Slack is letting us do
Yeah.
there. So we're trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to prune that down and kind of create something a little bit, even larger. Um, and that's kind of where it's like, well, maybe we can get rid of that if we can create this really awesome experience and just support, because that's honestly what it is.
Yeah.
So we have the Facebook community, we're active in there, all of us, and we try to get our whole team in there involved, and then we're just trying to build this customer experience that no other company is doing. And it's quite shocking, to be honest. Mostly when you get a sophisticated software, you're getting sophisticated users, and the only way to articulate what's going on is through human conversation. And so that's the model that we're really trying to drive towards.
Yeah, but like the luck part and the plan part, what I meant was like on the user to user. I mean, like the support you guys have in there. Forget about your team for a second, right? Just look at the users supporting other users. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. People
Yeah.
hopping on calls with each other. It's absolutely crazy. So was that luck or partially planned or what was that?
I think, definitely, I think luck is a big portion of it, but I think it also comes down to kind of the core ethos of our product, right? Built by an agency for agencies.
Right.
So it's kind of the inner circle, the inner
Right.
sanctum of everyone kind of helping each other. And it's no different than the feeling of being in a Facebook group for Google Ads experts. Everyone's trying to help each other when they're running into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I think it naturally happened that way, but I wouldn't say that it was necessarily planned. I think it was just, because we've kind of forced everyone there, the culture of the ecosystem of, online marketers, that's just kind of the natural way that everyone communicates and works today.
100%. Yeah, yeah. Because you see that community elsewhere where there isn't even it's not even product centric, right? It's more
Yeah.
just in the in the market community. So that's interesting. Now, you know, making SaaS make sense when you're trying to scale, when you have so many different features, right? Is hard, and you guys have you have your help docs, which are great. Uh, how do you decide, you know, how did you come up with those initial help docs of like, what do we have in there? And oh, we're gonna have Loom videos. A lot of SaaS companies don't have videos. They have like GIFs and like just words. So what was that thought process behind the help docs?
Yeah, I mean, when we started, we didn't even have time to build help articles. It was let's create something, and Loom was taking off at that time, and Loom, started probably a year before we did. And I don't know if you remember when Loom started out, it was unlimited free videos,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we would just use that left and right and just send it to our customers, and customers appreciated it. And what we were good at is dropping new features. We really at that time really felt like agencies are the experts.
Yeah.
We're just creating tools, right? Like we can create you a new screwdriver, we can create you a new hammer. Here's how to use the hammer, here's how to use the screwdriver. But once we hand it to you, it's your job to figure out how to go build the house, how to go build that cabinet or whatever. And so it was always about feature releases, not the how-to guides and the here's how to put it all together. And the way that we would supplement that is just get on a call with somebody on our team and we'll walk you through
Right.
the implementation side of things. Over time, we knew that it was a need, and then it was let's start creating help articles, and that's where we leverage Freshdesk as our platform. And we've just continued to double down on that. It's been working extremely well for us.
Yeah, I like your I like the docs. They're simple. They're easy to kind of consume as opposed to other SaaS products out there.
Yeah.
So by the way, did you guys have like other agencies create videos in the help docs? Because like I used to notice like many different people in those Loom videos that didn't really seem like they were part of your team.
It's quite possible, but we've always tried to do everything in-house. We would never put the stress and work on our customers. There may be times where a customer may post a video,
right?
In the Facebook group of like, oh, they figured out something cool or whatever, and then they brought it back in. Our team brought it back into the help platform, but on 80-90% of it should be our team.
Yeah. Now, on your team, you guys are remote, right? Mostly.
Yep. Yeah, we do have an office in Dallas. I mean, it seats about 20 people or so, but very few people come in. Short of big meetings or events and stuff like that. We also have a hub in Tampa, and we have a hub in India, but India's huge, right? But we have central points for people to meet and be together, but everybody works from home or
so the hubs are like where their employees kind of come together for whatever reason.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
So this is like what's interesting to me is like growing your company as fast as you have with a good product. I mean, your product is good. It's not like it breaks all the time or it's like fidgety or anything. Like it's a really good product. So it's like, hey, how do you number one hire, and then how do you manage, and then like how do you just make all the pieces work remotely at such a high scale?
Yeah. So, on the how do we hire? I mean, it definitely depends on roles, and if you're an individual contributor from the front lines versus development, things of that nature. There's different strategies on all of them. Some we do use recruiters. We do, we also believe in birds of a feather flock together. So if we hire into a lot of our original, team members, they've recruited. Hey, I'm working for this company. Not a lot of people know about it. You should come apply or come talk to the team, see if it's something that you're interested in. And we do referral bonuses internally.
That's awesome.
But at a certain point, it's not scalable, right? Like everyone's tapped out of their resources. And so this is where we started using your recruiters. And we try to get specialized recruiters, and depending on the roles or depending on the location, just because we're trying to hire from December, I think end of November to January, we brought on 60, 70 new people. So it's been hiring like crazy.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling how you've done this. Like, forget about your entire team, right? Let's just talk about developers. Like, you're hiring developers, I'm assuming from India, right? They're mostly based in India, your developers?
Yeah, we have people in the whole dev team as a whole. We have a small contingency in Canada, a small contingency in Brazil. Majority is in India, some in the Philippines, I believe, as well.
Yeah. So, if you hire someone that's like customer service or whatnot, People do that all the time, whether it be a VA or not. Like there's systems that exist for that. I have found that hiring a dev team and managing them remotely, it's hard. Because devs, like, that's why Google has like pool tables, right? And beanbags and all this stuff. So how do you maintain culture? I've noticed that as soon as you start hiring abroad, like people miss this feeling of culture and they can feel disconnected. That's why most people can't, retain their employees. So what is your theory behind that? Do you guys have huddles every morning, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's doing everything, right? We do have huddles. We live off of Zoom. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things that people struggle with is simple as turning on your camera.
Right.
Doesn't matter if you're having a good day or bad day, messy hair, forgot to brush your teeth or whatever. If that's not your day, still get on Zoom because it goes a long way and it builds that camaraderie between the team. And I think as a culture of the organization, us being remote, that is important to us. But then it's also, meeting with team members. Some of the teams, right now, a good part of our dev team, funny story is they're all meeting up in India to doing a week-long trip that is not company sponsored. They just, one of the team leads like, hey, let's just all meet up together and let's all, work together. And they all got an Airbnb and they're just all hanging out for the week. Now they're still working, they're still productive, but that culture comes from within, right? Not something top down.
Yeah.
And so we try to really put that emphasis in place of like, hey, you should really connect with your team.
So it's not mandatory to like show up on meetings every day or anything like that, or is it like in huddles and whatnot?
Definitely. I mean, that's on a team by team basis.
Got it. Yeah.
But I wouldn't say like it's mandatory to be on huddles or whatever. It's based on that team's culture and how they do their productivity. But if you do get on a Zoom call, you need to be wearing, repping Highlevel, however you can, whether it's your background or t-shirt or something like that, and be on camera. Like those are two easy things that go a long way. And then we live on Slack and being available. Number one thing in our company is just be available. If you can be available, you'll go a long way.
Yeah. So just a point on the hiring. Do you ever provide like laptops or any sort of tech to your employees, or is it they're supposed to bring it to the table?
100%. We're 98% Mac. We give all accessories. We want you to be as productive as possible. The last 2%, a lot of our finance and ops teams like having Windows computers. But we give you dual monitors, docking stations, everything to be successful.
Crazy. Yeah, so that's a lot of investment into that employee. Like a lot of times when you have that employee at a distance, it becomes hard to commit to that investment. So is there do you have a philosophy behind this? Like, hey, if we invest in them, then they would be worth it, kind of thing, or like?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely comes into play. It starts at the beginning, right? It starts in the interview process, the filtering. Many ways we're very selective on who we bring on, and we figured out ways to hire quickly if the right person comes in. We do testing, we do, culture fits, like it's like a 3-4 interview process. And once you can meet all those filtration processes, we're willing to do the investment. And, it hasn't backfired in any way. And then also, it's not just the investment, it's the productivity. We don't want to bring someone in who has a, 10-year-old laptop and we're giving them these high expectations, right? Yeah. That automatically becomes a problem of like, oh, I can't open more than 5 tabs. Well, whose fault is it? And so
is
for
it the company or is it, 100%.
Yeah. So we just kind of said, let's just give it to them. And, now the excuse is minimized as quick as possible.
Now, have you had, bad recruits, like where, you've invested and people walk away, or you kind of had to fire because you're just not of company culture? Do you just write that off, or what? Like, I mean, I'm thinking because like you have this current strategy at the moment, but this is not the strategy you had when you were kind of building up, right? I'm assuming you did not invest in tech or anything like that when you were hiring initially. Is that right?
No, to be honest, we invested in tech. I mean, we're all geeks, Sean Vern and me, in many ways, and
same here.
So we've if we're going to invest in ourselves, why wouldn't we invest in our team?
Got it.
The company's been profitable from relatively day one, so we wanted to make sure the team has all the work models. And that was just kind of the culture that we brought in from day one. Um, but to answer your other question of like, have we had to let people go because they're not culture fits? Because our process has gotten better over time, of the filtration, we don't have a lot of bad culture fits. So we don't, we don't have a lot of those issues. But we have had, less than a handful of them. And then, when we do have to let people go or people, separate from the company, I wouldn't say that we write it off. We try to look at, what's the net positive, and we want everyone who leaves us to land, in a positive nature.
Interesting. And so if would you fire fast, or would you try to, mold that person into a better, employee? What would you choose between the two?
It's an interesting question. We've definitely, we like to believe that we fire fast, but
Mhm.
we don't. We're definitely on the latter of, we try to mold people into what we want. We want, only because we're passionate, we're empathetic, and we don't want people to just get blindsided. And so we try to put the best measures in place. We want to put you in a point of success, and because we want everyone to win. And why wouldn't you want to win with us?
Right.
It's kind of the same thing of like customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should fire your worst customers, and it's like,
It's like figure
well,
out a way to retain them.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly. And that's the way that we're always thinking, is like,
yeah.
it's just like my customer. I'm gonna get on a call, and as angry or whatever as it is, I want to try winning them over and try to keep them around.
Yeah.
And if there is opportunity, why aren't we trying to do that?
Right. So, before we move on from hiring, I just want to understand, just very quickly. You said you had 4 interviews, and culture fit matters. Is it like what are the 4 interviews with the same people, or is it different people?
Different people, different teams, and in some of those roles, bubble all the way up to the C-suite, all the way up to Sean Vern and me in some cases as well.
Got it. Now, the hierarchy that you have, was it? Did you like what was it ever planned, or was it just built over time of like managers or whatnot, and the
It,
recruiters and
it,
the
it was
interviewers?
Yeah, it was all done organically, over time. When we started, it was just Sean Vern and me, and then we just had team members joining, and everyone just kind of man to base.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
in charge of this. Like, good
Yeah.
luck, right?
Yeah.
Like, we'll
And then
help
people
you.
are like, people moved up ranks and
Well,
whatnot.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and that kind of happened organically, right? Like, oh wow, we're really behind on help articles, so let's just go hire somebody to help with that. Well, the person that was owning it before, manning that base, it's, well, you're the manager now,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
that's what I mean of
Right.
like, it happened organically. But over time, everything just, I'm a believer in the stars align at the right time, and
Mhm.
those structures, all just naturally came together over time.
Got it. Now, do you believe in, running a company as an assembly line, or do you feel like people should put their hands in a couple of other things alongside their main thing?
Um, I think reality is the latter.
Yeah.
You know, if you try to run it as a true assembly line, like a McDonald's or Ford assembly line or something like that, you will have high turnover
Yeah.
because people inevitably get bored,
Right.
and the path to grow is very minimal. And so we're comfortable with people doing many things. And honestly, it's that if you see something, don't even say something, just do it, right? Like, if you see there's a problem, why
Right.
couldn't, right? Like, the analogy that I always have in my head in that scenario is, if you walk into a room and there's a trash bin on the floor and there's a crumpled up paper next to it,
You might not be
why,
the cleaner, but like take care of it, right?
yeah, why
Yeah.
can't you pick up, like, I don't
Yeah.
get it. Like,
Yeah.
why is this even a conversation? You just
Yeah.
walk by it. and,
Right.
and I think in our company culture, it's kind of the same thing of like, I don't know how to help you, Mo, but let me get on a call with you just to hear what's going on, and maybe I can find you to the right person. Not, nope, it's not my problem.
Yeah.
He's not
Do
in
you
my
think do
bucket.
you think that is do you think that is culture and molding, or do you think that's just personality types? Like there's certain personalities just would never kind of do that.
I think it's a combination of both, but it's 80% the personality. The one that's willing to have a helping hand, that's not scared to help, scared to talk to somebody. That comes in from hiring practices from the get-go. And then when you come into the organization, it's just looking around and seeing how other people function. And you can't put name to culture or a word
Right.
to culture. It's just how people act and operate. So when you see other people operating that way, it just becomes natural for you of like, I
It's
don't
either you
know how
fit in
else
or
to
you
operate.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Interesting. And so, we've talked about raising, you raised at, 250. Um, what's the plan? IPOs, exiting, like selling, or what's the
We really don't have a strategy in mind. I mean, like I said, kind of that claw analogy. We're in the trenches. We're just doing day to day. I'm still talking to customers. Sean's talking to customers. Vernon's talking to customers. We're helping our teams, and not only are we walking in a really interesting world right now.
Mhm.
Companies are going belly up. They're
Yeah.
firing thousands and thousands of people, or we're on the other side of the coin where we're hiring like crazy and trying to find the best talent. We're still having fun every day.
Mhm.
Um, so I wouldn't say that we necessarily have a strategy. We're just continuing to double down in what we do every day, and you know, just like I said, we believe in when the stars align, it's going to give us the right answers, and so we'll just see. But we're having fun every day, so I don't see why we would stop.
Yeah, that's like the right kind of energy to have. I mean, there's nothing wrong with planning an exit. Like, I usually try to plan the end, begin with the end in mind, kind of thing. But there's like uh I have a friend who has a SaaS more in the enterprise part of things, and they're like $100 million company. And I was like, hey, listen, like, you guys are at 100 million, and like, why don't you just sell? Like, what's up? And he's like, oh yeah, I'll sell. But I just got a couple of, like, I want to enter this other industry, and it's not even a number thing. It's more like, hey, I want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
accomplish a couple more things with my company before I do that. So that's very interesting.
Your statement about like build with the end in mind.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel like you have to put a number
Right.
or at the end, and for us, I think in many ways it's how do we build a strong company that not only can take care of us, but our teammates, our employees, and our customers, and be healthy. Isn't that a great outcome?
Right. How do I build something very solid that'll last a very long
Yeah,
time? They'll
it's
serve a bunch of
sustainable,
people. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like it doesn't have to be a number on it, because at the same motion, like if we were, you know, fraction of where we are today, we'd still be happy.
Right. Right.
And
100%.
that's honestly how we
There's
started.
definitely this excitement of building the company. I mean, you guys wouldn't be here if that wasn't there. That core. There's a lot of businesses that are built off of these numbers that ultimately go nowhere because there's no passion. I don't like using the word passion; it's too woo woo for me. But there's no excitement. There's like this excitement that's always happening, and that I can clearly see that in you, but also just in the general community of like things are happening because people want to do them, not because there's some outcome, some grand outcome.
No, you're 100% right, right? Like if you look at the franchising world,
Yeah.
franchises are great because it's a very turnkey SOP'd out
Yeah.
operation. And the ones that follow it to a T will have a decent outcome. But the ones that have an owner or franchisee that is super passionate about it and just enjoys the overall delivery of what they're doing and stuff, they're usually the banner childs of the franchisee,
Yeah.
right? Or the franchisor, right? They're the ones that's doing 10x what all the other ones do. And so in that same vein, right? It doesn't matter if it's like an assembly line or whatever it is, the passion is really what drives the multipliers. And honestly, it's just when you're having fun, you don't even think about it. It's just a byproduct of the good work that everyone's doing.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of people in the business, in whether it's the agency space or just in general in the business space, a lot of people are in it to achieve an outcome of money, uh, so that they can, buy a house, buy a car, whatever it is, so that they can be happy, right? It's like if you switch the script and it's like you could be happy right now by just doing what you like to do or what you enjoy to do instead of, hating what you do to earn a certain amount of money and, going on that
Uh,
cycle.
100%. And to be quite transparent, I used to think that way as well. Like I need to hit X, and my revenue
Yeah.
target is this,
Yeah.
right? And you put it in your head of like when you hit that revenue target, your life is going to change or you're going to get something else, only to realize that when you're there, sure you can buy the new car, the new house and stuff, only to then set a new goalpost of
Yeah.
something even bigger, right? Like you're just in this infinite merry-go-round that you just
Yeah.
can't get off. But once you kind of change that fundamental thinking of just doing the good work every day, you'll
Things
be
are
happy.
happy. Like life's good. Like, yeah.
Yeah, life is good, right? And I was watching something and they were talking about like the concept of getting a raise. You know, people think that getting a raise allows you kind of that same thing. Oh, I'm going to get this raise. I'm going to go buy something new and create a new lifestyle. But reality is, if you think about a raise, it's the concept of it is stay at your current level, and the raise now becomes cherry on top.
Right.
And you're not supposed to change. But the
Yeah.
second that you change your lifestyle or change your approach again, the raise is
Like
meaningless.
you kind of equal it out. It negates itself. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so kind of that same thing in the entrepreneur space, you set this revenue target, you hit the revenue target, and now it's, well, crap, I just changed my whole, life standards
Yeah.
and everything. Now I gotta
Now I
get a
need
new,
something else. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so
Um,
that you got to stop that chasing, and I think people will become infinitely more happier. And I think that translates to like depression and
yep.
wanting to watch what other people are doing, and like this really unnecessary competitiveness that, if you think about it, it's just all made up in people's minds.
Yeah. Uh, growing up, I always wanted to like be a billionaire because I come from humble beginnings. Like I actually come from a really good family that did really well, but one step away, like my parents, were poor, like where they lived, and so my background's from Pakistan, and that was not so like I used to see that and I was like, hey, I'm gonna be rich one day and buy my entire family mansions and all that stuff. And so growing up, I was like, I'm gonna be a billionaire, and so that translated into the business world. And then one day I stopped, like I was going through depression. One day I stopped, I'm like, where did I get this idea? Like, why do I need to be a billionaire? What,
Mhm.
like, and then I was like, I think like if I forget about that and just do what I want to do, even if I made less money, I think that goal that I'm trying to chase of happiness after the billions would just be right now. And my life changed. Like now I'm not as addicted to becoming a billionaire or anything like that. It's like, and I ended up making more money. It's weird.
Yeah, that's a real thing, right? Like it's the paradigm change. Like, what can you buy as a billion? What can't you buy as a billionaire that you absolutely wanted that you couldn't if you made 500 million?
Yeah,
Now
exactly.
continue dividing that by
Exactly.
two, right?
That
Like just keep
logic.
dividing that by
Yeah.
two. And then
Yeah.
you realize that you can kind of buy everything at its core.
Yeah. And not just that. It's more like the Rolls Royce that you need. Do you really want it? Like you don't even know what engine's in it. Like why do you want it? Like,
Yeah.
like you have no passion of like you just want it because you think it's gonna give you some status or whatnot. It's not you don't really want it kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I don't want to limit somebody from making $1 billion to go buy, the sports team or whatever. Like if that is your vision and your dream, go for it. But I'll tell you that majority of the world, short of saying it's a cool thing, have no interest in running a
Exactly.
sports franchise, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And by the way, I've seen people barely make money, like make 5K a month or whatever, somehow scrape the money to buy a Lamborghini. But those people actually really wanted the car. Like whether it wasn't a Lamborghini or some other stuff, they really wanted the car. Like they actually were very passionate about cars. It wasn't to show off, you know. So I
Yeah,
think
and I think
yeah,
the worst aspect of it is it's just checking the box.
right.
Because I hit the status, I have to get a new car or I have to do this. And I think everyone goes through that. I mean, I've definitely had my moments. I'm sure you've had your moments where
Yeah.
you think that's the right answer. Only as the outcome of on the outset, it's like, oh yeah, just whatever, I got it. And
Yeah, it doesn't
you
matter
had that
anymore.
buyer's remorse. And you have that
Yeah.
buyer's remorse of like,
Yeah.
why did I waste my time and energy on that? Not even using it.
And figuring out like that you should flip the script. Like for me, it changed my life because I call it being selfish. It's like instead of
Mhm.
like making money and like making billions and taking care of your family and taking care of other people, like they're like doing that is great, but if you just flip the script of like, hey, let me just do what I want, it might not be profitable, might not be whatever, but I might get the feeling that I'm chasing behind all these things, right?
Yeah.
um and I think it's a much more healthier way to live. At one point I still feel this way. I want to leave the Western world because it's more like these ideas mostly come from marketing rather than anything else. Like it's because the TV says you should get a Lamborghini or like the cool people get Lamborghini and stuff. So as just as a thing aside, I used to hate Europe because of the GDPR because I couldn't advertise the right way, and now I'm like, hey, maybe I should move to Europe and protect myself
Right.
from the
Maybe they're onto
predatory
something
marketing.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um Okay, so I wanted to ask about future plans. So like where do you see the company going? Like I noticed one thing in your in Highlevel. You said the agencies are what matter, but then like because your goal was the agencies, but then at one point you guys switched your model, not switched, but you added the model of the SaaS, right? Now that SaaS model does not really have much to do with an agency. I mean, we're creating SaaS owners here. It's not like very agency type, right? So is going in the future, is the focus more going to be on the SaaSpreneurs, or is it going to be on the agency level, or what's that going to be like?
Yeah, our initial vision of it was we need to convert agencies to being more sustainable,
Right.
right? Like that is the biggest thing that we're trying to solve. And still today, SaaS, being a SaaSpreneur, offering it as a SaaS product to your customers is the most sustainable one. We have the
Yeah.
numbers and stats to prove it, and we have great success along
Can you
that
can you
way.
just let me know the high level numbers of if I'm in, like, because I agree with you 100%, but like a high level number of, hey, if I'm an agency, my churn rate is like 4 months or whatever, and
Oh
then
yeah,
or my
yeah.
LTV is this much. So like, can you give just high level numbers on the comparison?
Yeah, the churn, from a monthly perspective, you're able to keep a customer on average 2.5 months as an agency owner
Yeah.
on the wide scale. Now, of course, you're going to have the banner customers. I'll stay with you for 12 months,
Yeah.
plus. But net new customer, if you're trying to scale quickly, 2.5 months. Now you can improve that by really focusing in your local market, right? You're the the Seattle, in your neighborhood. You're the marketing agency that kind of helps everyone in your local.
There's no
That
scale in there.
yeah, you do hit a wall there. So what we did was looking at those two numbers. The best agencies are the ones that are in the local space. The ones that have the highest churn are not sustainable. And if we can provide a software application that kind of gives you the blend of both, now you'll win. And what we're actually seeing is on average, a SaaSpreneur or an agency that moves over is holding customers on 8.5 months.
Got it.
Huge difference there, right?
Now, is there a balance of like amount charged? Like, hey, listen, if I'm charging $2,000 a month, they're staying off for 2 months. Hey, I have 4 months, 4K at LTV. My SaaS is obviously
Yeah.
going to be 250 or something like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
the MRR on average, I think, is 176, I think is the number off the top of my head.
mhm.
Is what a average agency is charging just on the software side of things. That's not including services or anything else that they're adding on. Um, but even on that same token, there's SaaS agencies that selling a $5,000 a month program and stuff like
Interesting.
that. But kind of the average number there is like 176 per
Mhm.
month. And then that doesn't include any of the rebilling aspects,
Right.
right? And that you can make money on that side. Um, what we're actually seeing, the average overall MRR gain to an agency, I think it's a net $7,000 a month. So we're making customers $7,000
How do you
if they
look at the
follow
net?
our system. Uh, the net, meaning,
You said the net is around 7K per month
oh, I'm sorry, gross. Basically, like as an
on a
agency that
median.
converts over,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's using our SaaS application and migrating customers over. We're able to see that across the board, and on average, we're seeing that they make about $7,000 a month. And I think the average is like 12 customers. And through
Interesting.
rebilling, through everything all in, that's kind of the numbers that they're
Interesting.
making.
Yeah. So, okay. So another question on the future plan. So like the look of Highlevel, all right? It has a specific look, and then people can get custom code. They're either going to hire a developer for, they're going to do it themselves, or they're going to buy a productized service, or like just buy the code, right? Now, do you guys have plans in the future of, having a like kind of a Shopify type of system? It's like, hey, you have these options of themes, so you can use these themes that are already built into Highlevel, or you could go buy custom themes or whatnot. Because at the moment, there people only have one option. Is in the future, will people have multiple options for themes natively through Highlevel?
Yeah, we're definitely trying to go down that path. I think there's only so much time and dev resources, and the other thing that people may or may not realize is as we're getting bigger as a product stack, the more new things require interdependency between other
Yeah.
applications as well. So by launching something, it takes a little bit longer because we got to make sure that it talks and does everything that we need to between the whole app. But definitely we want to have a third-party marketplace where third-party companies and integrators can create their own applications. The story that I like to give is we started out as the agency operating system, and then we turned into becoming a SaaS operating system, right? You can run your own software company. And over time, I see us becoming more of a platform as a service, right? We're
Right.
very similar to like a Salesforce or something like that, where we're
Yeah.
just an operating system and you can literally
Yeah.
custom build and build anything on top of our database and our stack as a
I've
whole.
always looked at it as Salesforce. Like I've made a huge bet on Highlevel's future, and it was basically on this thing of like you guys would probably grow into a Salesforce with extensions and applications and whatnot.
Yeah,
Um,
you can kind of see kind of the first steps of it, which is amazing. If you go to marketplace.gohighlevel.com, it's this huge library of
yeah,
third-party integrators.
it's
We're
pretty
not charging
underrated right
anything.
now. No one knows much about it. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And so people are cool creating like really great customizations,
yeah.
creating integrations into their product and tying it back in. I mean, it's awesome to see because it all comes back to use cases. And the individuals that are creating the integrations, I mean, some of our big companies, publicly traded companies that's even in there, and they're building really cool use cases to connect with their application and vice versa, which goes to their audience.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's just we're just the operating system, and you can build on top of us. There's companies like FormStack. Are you familiar with FormStack?
I don't think so. Maybe, but
Or ServiceMax?
yeah. I know Service
So
Max.
ServiceMax, they sell platforms to plumbers and
Yeah,
home service.
yeah.
They
Yeah,
are 100% built on Salesforce,
yeah, yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
that's where we're slowly evolving to. And what's fun is it wasn't by design. It's just that's
Yeah.
just how our
So for
customers got us
Salesforce,
there.
it was by design.
It was
They
by
were
design.
very they didn't want to do anything on like as far as customization goes. So yeah, in your case, yeah, it was never by design. It's just that you put those two boxes there, and the JavaScript box and the CSS box, and like the possibilities were endless. And then now we're in the space of extensions and whatnot. And so I
Yeah,
have a question on just that. It's like, should people be moving away from API 1.0?
definitely. I mean, we haven't officially deprecated it yet. I mean, we'll put notices up soon. We're not putting a lot of work in there. It's built on an older infrastructure as well. Um, the OAuth, the 2.0
Yeah,
API is more secure, more scalable, and it actually helps us get to that story of integrators being able to sell integrations,
yeah,
at a monetization level, right? So if you're another company that's out there and want to charge or want to track usage based on an account level within Highlevel, you'll be able to do that with the OAuth integration.
yeah.
But you won't be able to do that with the
With the
1.0
API
API.
1.0. It's just that I run GHL Essentials, which is like a couple of features
Yeah,
for Highlevel. And everything's built on API 1.0. So I have to go in there and fix it. Like, so I'm assuming you guys are going to deprecate it, and like it's just not there's not going to be everything that was built on is going to end up not working, right? So everyone's
exactly.
funnels and everything.
Exactly.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. And then, so what are your goals for 2023? Is it are your goals focused on users? Are your goals focused on features, customer service?
Yeah, it's definitely customer service, customer experience. We want to get back to where we're strong at. It's different levels. The faster that you're growing, it's a different ball game. And then you got to backfill it with more teams, more management, more layers and stuff like that. So we're trying to make sure that we keep with the core of who we are as an organization. So customer experience is number one. And that naturally translates to reducing our churn numbers, reducing, continuing to keep our CAC low, making sure that the customer's happy throughout the product. But at the same token, we're still who we are. We're going to continue developing more features, more cool new products, doing cool things along the way. The one thing I'm really excited for is we're starting to get into the world of, a little bit of AI, so we'll have some of those tools like with ChatGPT and stuff like that. But then on the other side, which I'm really excited for, is building out more Zapier replacement tools.
Yeah, yeah. Zapier is just like it was so good, but now like there's an incentive to like move away from it because of their pricing, and build everything in house. So
Well, I mean, just as who we are as a company, we go what our customers are doing and needing. And this is, if you look across our base, everybody is using Zapier. It's basically a middleware. And
or
why
make
can't we just
right? Yeah,
yeah, or Make or Integromat or
yeah,
Pabbly? There's a lot of these companies, and they're all great in their own regard. I don't want to discount any of them. It's just we know what our customers want and need, and a lot of it is just for that. I mean, to be honest, like we were in the stats in our side, it's using Highlevel, pump out to Google Sheets. So
Mhm.
can we just make that
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
far
and it's
less
not
fee?
that complicated.
It's not that complicated, but we can automate it. We can charge significantly less than any other provider out there. And we'd be saving our agencies and they'd be able to not only mark it up if they choose or just, helping their bottom line. We're really passionate about, helping agencies win here and SaaSpreneurs win. So this is a great opportunity for us.
Yeah, yeah. The only problem with that is like the scale of apps like that Zapier has. But if you guys could just have the main ones most people use, that just takes care of it.
Well, in our eyes, it's easy, right? We just follow the usage patterns.
Yeah,
So Google Sheets is number one, Slack is number two, and we'll just keep shipping away. But sure, Zapier has millions or 100,000 plus apps, but how many of them are meaningful to our community and to the agencies? It's a small subset of that,
yeah,
and over time we'll get there, right? But we just kind of follow the traction of what our customers want, and we'll build it for them.
yeah. Now, in the future, like as far as future goes, do you guys plan on making acquisitions? I mean, at this point, it's kind of not worth it. I mean, if you guys are going platform as a service, I thought you guys weren't officially doing that. So I thought you guys would make a couple of acquisitions to just bolt onto your stack. But since you are doing that, like, do you have any acquisitions in mind you guys plan to do or no?
We don't necessarily have anything in mind. I mean, we're always looking, seeing what opportunities are. I think there's a misnomer in bolting on.
Right.
Like yeah, you could buy another company, but it takes just as long,
A lot of time. Yeah.
a lot of time to bolt it on, acclimate the new team.
Yeah.
That causes challenges and stuff. And
It's a whole different company that like you're still running two companies at that point. Yeah.
you're running two companies. You got to pick up the baggage. Good, bad, ugly. You got to bring it in. And then for us, it's easy for us to build new product and features because we believe in the skateboard model, right? So we like to start out with a very simple version of it. And then it's all right, now let's put it out to the world. It's kind of the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of usage is driven by 20% of the product. So let's build that out first, and then we'll continue to iterate. And that's how
Right.
we kind of do our constant feature
Right.
enhancements and stuff because we're listening to our community, and our community is getting on calls with our product managers, putting on the ideas board, Facebook group, whatever, and we're just chipping away and getting it back up to where it needs to be. But because we're able to come out with a new product very quickly on the first motion, we're serving so many people at the gate as a success. And so it's hard to take somebody else's stack that doesn't necessarily directly bolt on that because it's a wide we're on Amazon, we're using Elastic, we're on Google Cloud, we're using Mongo, we're using this and we're using that, right? Like it's just not just put this files, copy it in a folder, and like it just doesn't work that way.
It
So
doesn't. Yeah.
so from a heuristic perspective, we've never done an acquisition, but we're always looking to see if there's something
I was
out
just saying
there.
that because I was just saying that because you mentioned AI and stuff. I'm sure there's some sort of proprietary advancement in some code that you can't produce, within your team as a feature. So I was wondering if those things were on your mind.
I mean, nothing. Like I said, nothing in the plans and nothing in the works. But I don't want to discount, if an opportunity exists. I think for us in 2023, though, may not be, so many more acquisitions per se. Maybe it's going to be more partnerships, right? Like it's building that relationship with OpenAI so that we can properly integrate with ChatGPT. A lot of people think it's free, and it's actually not.
It's
When you're
not.
trying to
It
build,
costs a lot of money.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
So it's, can we drive the volume down so that we can get better pricing there and basically pass that on to the agencies and build that integration. Doing things like what Zapier is doing. Zapier is great, and you can continue to use that, but some of those applications, there is a fee to it. So can we drive usage, and can we build a partnership up? Maybe it's like exclusivity. We're working with Meta. That's another one that I'm excited for. We actually have a call later this week, and really trying to become a strong partner for them so that we can become kind of an exclusive partner on the WhatsApp side. We have a great relationship with Google, trying to continue doubling down on that. We're one of the only providers in Google Reserve, which is invite only and stuff like that. So I think partnerships is really what we're going to be putting a lot of emphasis on in that regard. And basically it's just building the partnership so that we can pass it downstream to our customers.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know about the Google stuff.
Yeah.
So like I have a question, and then we can move on to the last few questions. You guys partner with Google and Meta, at least at the at a lower level, like when with your ad reporting and whatnot. Did you guys purposefully like not want to go the ad launcher route,
Being
like
able
launching
to
ads?
execute.
Yeah,
It's interesting. We never really saw that requested by our customers. It, in many ways, there's been companies out there for a long time that do great, like Ad Espresso or
yeah,
Adpresso, whatever, and stuff like that. They've been
oh
around
yeah,
forever.
yeah,
Um, but I think, at least initially, a lot of agencies felt that that was their bread and butter and their expertise. And the second that you make it easy, right? Remember when Facebook released the simplified, you can boost a post,
right,
and every agency was like, that's horrible, the worst thing ever.
yeah,
And over time, they built out an MVP manner. And over time, you can do a lot of the basic targeting through, and it works decently well now.
yeah, it does, yeah,
And sure, you can go into ad manager and really do some creative, cool things. You start justifying, is the payoff there,
mm-hmm.
and time
Yeah,
to manage it versus a simplified version, which is going to get you maybe slightly higher, if not the same
yeah.
price.
Especially when you're
Uh,
dealing with local stuff. I mean, you don't need the complication, like complicated stuff. If you're doing some national e-com stuff, maybe, right? But
yeah,
localized, not so much.
but I think as an agency owner, you want to have some sort of competitive advantage, and that's really going to sell you apart. And so you're not going
Yeah,
to say like, oh yeah, we'll just run your ads for you. We're going to do some crazy analytics, and we're going to,
yeah,
drop down your CPC, and they'll start throwing in some crazy terms along the way. So that's why we backed off for so long. But as we're finally stabilizing in a lot of our product and features, now the teams are focused on more templatized turnkey scenarios, like in our funnel builder, in our website builder, you'll see those templates. We will slowly get into some of the advertising components, where you can do turnkey ads. We're doing that in social media. You can do, turnkey ad post and things there. So
yeah,
we do
yeah.
make it
The
easy,
social
but
media, yeah,
we want to do it in a way that's not going to compete against our agencies and our customers. We want to do it in a way where, if you so choose, and your customer wants to have the easy button because you don't want to do it, we'll have that option in there.
right. It more applies to the SaaS thing
Yeah,
because
the SaaSpreneur is going to be the one that's really going to love that.
so like so this brings me down to my last question of last question on the future plans, and then just general advice I want to ask you. um the future of GHL providers, or service providers, extensions, applications, whatnot. One of the things that, when I was starting out, I was building these different applications for GHL. I keep calling it GHL. I apologize. It's like, I don't know if you guys are
It's okay, right? This is why we're white label. You can call it whatever you want.
uh, one of the things I used to fear, not fear, but like it just made it harder to develop, was, hey, what if I put all this effort into developing this thing, and then Highlevel just goes ahead and creates it themselves? Uh, is there going to be guideline around those, or roadmaps of where you're coming out on, so people can steer away from what you guys are already creating, so that it's not kind of.
Yeah, so two things there. One is, I think that's something that it's kind of a mental barrier more than anything. Like, it shouldn't stop anyone from creating.
Yeah,
There's always a need, and there's a specific use case in why you're trying to build something.
yeah,
A perfect example is kind of use Sean's experience. The co-founder, he built Invoice Sherpa, and
yeah,
the way that he acquired 80-90% of his customers was through Intuit's marketplace, because you know a lot of Intuit QuickBooks customers needed an invoicing platform. But what people didn't realize is that you could easily use QuickBooks to create invoices,
mm-hmm.
right? And they could have easily shut Invoice Sherpa down, saying, no, we have it in-house, or whatever.
Right.
And in fact, you had to pay for Invoice Sherpa, which was like $29
Yeah,
or a month. It was free within QuickBooks.
yeah,
And there was a slight advantage with Invoice Sherpa for a while, where you could do reminders. But QuickBooks can build that. That's still not going to stop people from leaving a third-party application. Sometimes it's the look. Sometimes it comes down to the consultant and what they're needed to hook up and capabilities and things like that. So I think that is what I mean of like the mental barrier. Like, there's always opportunity, and even if Highlevel builds it, we're not going to be able to fit every single use case into how we build it versus how you built it into the customers that you use it for. And on the side of the roadmap and everything, we're, as transparent as can be. We do our town halls, or we go through the roadmap and what we're building. We do live, quarter by quarter, because we move incredibly fast. The the way we think about it internally is like, what we do in a quarter is what most companies do in a year. And
100%.
what we do,
Yeah.
what we do in a month is what most companies do in a quarter. And you just kind of extrapolate that down, right?
Yeah.
And so we live quarter to quarter. So we try to put out the roadmaps. We use those town halls as a resource for it. Sean does his coming at you videos quite frequently, mostly when we have something that's in QA or something that we're testing out or thinking about. We also use our ideas board, and that shows a lot of our roadmap as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can mark off what you guys are going to work on and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay. So what advice would you give to SaaS owners, whether they're SaaSpreneurs within Highlevel or whether they're running their own SaaS? What is one key advice? Because obviously you yourself went from agency to SaaS owner, right? So one thing I realized what you guys have done is you guys have created a new breed of SaaSpreneurs where you've created SaaSpreneurs with balls, because most people in SaaS are usually techie, nerd, Silicon Valley, let me raise money, whatever. Now you've created a new breed that wants to hop on calls and wants to sell and like wants to profit first. So what is advice you have for SaaS owners in general? Your biggest realization, or whatever you kind of, I'm sure that you have this piece of advice. Yeah.
Being in the trenches is number one. I see a lot of SaaS companies, SaaS owners, who they'll rather put somebody else on the front lines, and they're trying to change the paradigm of how their customer thinks. Like, they're building something they think is right for the world.
Yeah.
But only to realize that the world doesn't want what they have.
Yeah.
Or they're not ready for what they have, right? So it's important for you to get on calls with your customers and really listen to their needs, and don't overcomplicate it, and don't overbuild without knowing that you're getting validation from your customers. I think that's important, number one. And then two is make sure that you're charging appropriately on the way. I see a lot of people trying to chase the quote unquote lifetime deals and stuff like that. Yeah. But people don't realize in software, it's kind of this feeling of, well, I'll just put up X amount of dollars, and at the end of when that dollars end, the software is done, and that is it. It's how software works, right?
Yeah.
It's like building a website.
It's not.
It's a never-ending compounding thing that creates expenses, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why lifetime deals generally don't work. And so don't think that
ultimately they will cost too much. Like, they'll be a burden.
Exactly.
Expense. On point number one, do you think it's a commitment thing of like, hey, people don't commit enough to whatever it is they're trying to do, and so they're trying to sell products that they don't want to work on, right? And so that they're putting distance between them and their customer. Is it all a commitment? Because if you're committed, then you're talking to the customer, you're building the product, you're doing everything, right?
I think it's actually on the other side. It's probably an overcommitment on the art of creating something.
Got it. Like that's the investment. Too much investment has gone into it, so I don't want to kind of.
I created something so masterful. I've done something that no one else has ever seen before. It is so innovative. I've put hours and hours and hours, days, weeks, months, years.
Yeah. It doesn't matter because the market doesn't need it.
They don't
need it. Yeah.
But you get so blindsided by the work that you put into it.
Right.
It's the customer's fault that they don't see it, or they're not the right customer. When in reality, they could be the right customer. It's just you've gone to the nth degree, and all it is one little fork on the road that forces you to divert way off from what the customer really needs and what they're willing to pay for.
Yeah. And you're saying that translates to sales, or were you more referring to customer service?
I think it's all of the above, right? Someone who's overcommitted into their application, they're going to put more focus on the development side versus being on the front lines.
Got it.
Right? They're going to because who's right? The customer's not right. I am. So why do I need to listen to that customer?
Yeah.
So I'm going to just focus.
You need to be customer first and then build on top of that. And that's what you guys have done every step of the way.
And you can actually Google it. What we're doing, people think it's like something innovative. I think it's just innovative because we've done it at such a big scale. But you can actually Google it. It's called the skateboard method. And, there's a whole lot of write-ups on explaining how that model works and stuff like that. So the concept is nothing new. It's just we've just continued to double down on it. We haven't let off the gas pedal in how we continue to build new product and features there.
Yeah. So does the same thing apply to SaaSpreneurs within Highlevel? Like like the same thing applies, and I get that, but what should their focus be? Because they have the MVP in Highlevel. They can add a bit of a theming to it. Hey, this for real, like I'll put the real estate email sequences in or whatever, and make it kind of, put a theme to it. Should their main focus be selling it?
Yeah, going out and figuring out who you can help, who you can serve, and getting them into the platform, and you will learn so much and really dial in on what they need. And then from there, you have all the flexibility to continue building or maybe not building, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you realize, I just need to pare this down. All they care about is one little
Yeah.
subset of a feature.
Yeah.
And they're willing to pay me for that because that's what's going to get them to success.
Yeah.
I just figured out the way to move forward.
Yeah. Not enough people understand this. Like you don't want more stuff. You usually need to eliminate stuff for a better SaaS product. Like, can you, like, would you encourage people to go out there and piss people off when you're selling? Because like, look, a lot of people are afraid of, hey, if I sell this and then they can't use it or they're frustrated and I don't know technicalities of Highlevel, whatever. Do you think people should just go into it and figure it out along the way, or should they, or should they care too much about learning to help dogs? Or
I think it's easy enough. Well, here I love analogies.
Yeah.
You can go to Best Buy and work there as an employee. You can be in the printer section, and they're not putting you on 6 months of training and understanding the ins and outs of how to build a printer and being able to put it together from A to Z.
Yeah.
And if somebody has a technical question on how to fix the ribbon and fixing the power supply and all that, they're not going into that level. They're teaching you is enough to be, confident enough to be a 1% expert, 1% more than your customer, and really helping your customer find a solution, not the tool in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the tool can be, because it's that same motion. There's 15 printers in that aisle. All of them can print out a paper.
Yeah.
But it's the job of listening to the customer and figuring out which one closest aligns to what they're trying to solve for. And I think, coming back to the SaaSpreneur side, you don't have to know the product from, end to end. You should talk to who your potential customer is. If it's a real estate agent, have a decent idea of like how you can put a solution to them, but then ask them, what can I do to make your life easier? And then back into it and continue iterating from there.
Yeah, not enough people do that research of like, just have the conversation, right? They usually will give you an answer. And if you got to ask the right questions, but ultimately, like, you don't need to shove a product down their throat. Like, you just ask them what they need and give it to them.
How can I make your life easier, right? And this is back to the point of, the founder-led companies.
Yeah.
They're building this amazing product, but they're not listening to their customer. They're not asking the question. They're just, in my mind, I think real estate agents need this.
Yeah.
And real estate agents will win, only to realize they don't need that.
Yeah.
It's, maybe a small percentage, but it's hard to find that small percentage, right? Like it's just, you just have to pull yourself off the merry-go-round and kind of do the hard work that feels unorthodox, but it's actually easy if you think about it.
Yeah, I noticed that, like, we keep talking about customer service, outside of like the SaaS world, when I used to do my agency and a lot of different things, customer service was just another word, like, hey, sales and marketing. In the SaaS world, it's very different. Like it doesn't hold lightly. It's a lot of like that's a lot of your stuff. Like, I know that it's Andrew Cass, Pipeline Pro. I mean, I opted in to see what they're doing, and they're it's crazy. Like they will, I paid the lifetime fee or whatever they had, and then once I opt in, they're like, hey, book a call with our person, and I didn't do that, and then I start seeing ads, retargeting ads. Hey, have you booked a call? Which is, I don't see anyone doing that. And then, and then they're calling me up. They're like, hey, let me help you out, whatever. Like, it's crazy how important that is, because that determines your stickiness. So last few questions. Have you noticed SaaS creates jobs? Like, have you noticed how, like, you build your Highlevel, right? Hey, cool. Like, oh, I can make money by selling SaaS. But guess what? Like, because I have it now, I need to hire a VA. I just created a job. I need to hire a developer. I just created a job. I need to, like, it's crazy. I did not notice this, but Highlevel's created so many jobs just out of nowhere, like just
Yeah.
it's nuts. You have any thoughts on that?
Oh, definitely. So this is something that I'm really passionate about, and I hope I can put more focus in at the second half of the year. So we've been focused on the agency owner, and the agency owner, really creating new jobs for people and things like that, and really becoming the entrepreneur. But along the way, as these businesses are scaling, they are hiring individual contributors and creating more entrepreneurs, right? They want to
Yeah.
help the agencies and stuff like that. And it's becoming a big ecosystem. And what triggered me is Salesforce. Salesforce is sold to Fortune 500 companies, large businesses, things of
Yeah.
that nature. And if you go to Indeed, if you need to hire someone to help manage it, what is the term? You need to get a Salesforce administrator.
Yeah. It's actually a title. Yeah.
It's a title, right? So I think Highlevel should have that. And in many ways, we need to create a accreditation program. So actually, it is on our roadmap to create a certification program. And we have our SaaSpreneur mastermind, and where you can get certified to becoming a SaaSpreneur, which is really enabling people to, kind of unhinge themselves to feel comfortable to start selling the product as their own and things like that. It's really more of an enablement product of that certification. But what I want to do is create more of a certification program of enabling entrepreneurs. Whether you're working for the med spa and they need the front desk person to be fully vetted out and comfortable in Highlevel, I want to have a program for them. They get an official certification and they have to renew it yearly, right? Because our product changes so much and things like that. So now we've not only created this, front desk individual who's working for a med spa, now they get this true credential so they can start a new career as a high-level administrator, certified administrator. And I would love to see that on Indeed or Glassdoor or something where you just start seeing this whole economy. And it's slowly getting there.
Yeah.
We have our job network. We have a lot of companies that are building those models. But once the world, sees it and takes form, it's going to be an amazing day. And we want to back into that and be a part of that economy.
Yeah. I just like when I started observing that, it was crazy, mind-boggling to me. Like, whether it's Highlevel or some other sets, like every time these people come into the marketplace, jobs are suddenly created for whether it be entrepreneurs, whether it be these freelancers that are doing it's crazy. I don't know how, like, it doesn't make sense to me because typically a job creation is, hey, you start a business and then you have your employees, like that's job creation. But then this world of job creation is very different. You have your freelancers, you have your the businesses that have their employees that it's crazy stuff.
Yeah. And that also translates,
kind
of, sorry, just, how you were asking about like organic traffic and all that.
Yeah.
That is actually how our ecosystem continues to get bigger and bigger. Because when you're creating somebody like as an individual contributor, that person that becomes a high-level administrator, eventually they're going to move on to a new company. And that company's like, oh, I love this skill.
Right.
Like we want to get into marketing or build a database or something. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, the product that I used was Highlevel, so let's go get it. Right. And so that naturally it creates an echo chamber in itself.
Yeah. Now, 100%. Like the it's crazy stuff. The fact that you've gotten here so fast is what's mind-boggling. Like usually it takes companies ages, like to get to the point of word of mouth marketing or like word of mouth status, where your entire company is taken care of by word of mouth. You guys got there much faster. What is your thoughts on the Hyros exit?
I think it was a great opportunity. I haven't had a chance to catch up with Alex recently, but I think what they're doing is incredible, and there's obviously a need for it. And very similar, he's still on board. They're still doing what they're doing. It's going to allow them to move incredibly fast. Taking that funding and continuing to.
Was it funding or was it exit with him staying on for a bit?
I don't know the details. I do know that they went into I can't think of the word, but basically they're
a bigger SPAC. Yeah,
SPAC. That's what to go public. But ultimately, someone's still got to run the company. And no one better to do it than Alex himself and his team and structure there. So, like I said, I don't know the terms of it and things, but I think all in all, it's going to help the community grow a lot faster.
Okay, so I have one last question. At least on the books, one last question.
Yeah,
you guys built a Highlevel. We have people, and your internet marketers to SaaS. We have people like Russell Brunson who went from internet marketer to SaaS, right? the key difference is your business is actually sellable. Okay. I'm not saying you're going to sell it, but I want to talk about lack of personal branding. Was that by choice or was that not by choice? Was that luck? Like the lack of, like, people don't know who Robin Alex is, they know what
Yeah,
high level is. So yeah, can you talk a bit more about that?
yeah, I think from that lens, it's just kind of our personal personalities.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem getting on camera and talking, but it's just not my what
You don't
I
want fame, or like you don't want to be out there too much. Like,
yeah, that's just not our style. But Sean and Varun are developers. Sean, has a great personality and can get on cameras, and he's great at that. But what we're focused on is how do we celebritize our whole company? We want everybody on our team to have equal share of the limelight. Um, and I think there's also kind of this like weird take on by creating a social media presence or celebritizing it means that you're unapproachable. And for us, it's always been, no, we're accessible by many means of just being out there.
yeah,
So we just wanted to kind of present it that way. It's just saying, hey, if you need to talk, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. And we're going to create more content saying, I'm here. You can ping me. You can talk to me. But I think everyone has kind of their own model and their own vision and how they want to present it. And to be honest, all of them are winning in their own way. Right. So
yeah.
I don't think
Well,
necessarily
the
there's a
reason I
right way
said
around it.
sellable was I know ClickFunnels had a hard time exiting because of Russell's branding. Uh, personal
But
branding.
it comes down to the vision on the back end, right? Like when you say exiting, was he ever planning on leaving? I mean, I think he's
Yeah,
very
yeah, that
personally
wasn't
invested in
the
stuff.
case initially. It was, I think, something he wanted to do afterwards, something he thought of.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've seen some, small snippets and stuff of him talking, and as great as he is, he talks about like he was looking for the $1 billion valuation,
yeah,
um, and even the $1 billion exit. But it, is he wanting to leave the company? I mean, he hasn't really shown any
yeah,
desire there. I think he's always going to be forever tied to ClickFunnels, and it's always
yeah,
going to be
his
in his
baby.
blood and
Yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah. So,
yeah,
there's always more to the story,
yeah,
and I'd love to sit down.
nuances that you don't
Just,
see.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly right.
yeah,
There's also you also got to look at it as there's only a small pool of people that's willing to cut a $1 billion check,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
you got to put that into perspective, and ClickFunnels is a great company and they're doing great things. So I'm sure there's more to the story.
Cool. So, I'm gonna stop the recording. Do you have any? Oh, forgot. Can you pitch high level and SaaSpreneur, the meetup mastermind you're having? I know it's gonna help a lot of people out. So can you just give
Yeah,
your own
yeah,
pitch out? Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So February, we are doing a high level mastermind. It's called our SaaSpreneur Mastermind event. And really the focus on it is really to help people who have, currently an agency, really thinking about becoming a SaaSpreneur, and really starting their SaaS plan and really getting forward and, kind of thinking of how do I change my mindset? How do I overcome these fears or, business processes to convert my agency to becoming a SaaS professional or a SaaS agency themselves, as well as net new people who don't even have an agency today, but they really want to start their own SaaS software company. So we're creating this mastermind. It's going to have I'll be there. Sean will be there. Chase Buckner on our team. Paulson Thomas on our team, as well as I don't know if it's been announced yet. We do have a special guest who's also going to be speaking there. We'll have about 100 people all in a room. It's a very intimate event. We'll also do, kind of outside events. We did have our first summit today, and everyone talked about how great, the experiences there. We're going to make sure that we give you a world-class experience at the mastermind event there. But really, the outcome is not only giving you that hand-holded experience on getting you, any troubling issues that you're having with the application, but making sure that we're walking you through how to become a true SaaSpreneur. But yeah, it's going to be in February. I believe it's gohighlevel.com/mastermind, I believe is the URL. And it has all the information there. It'll be hosted in Dallas.
Okay, cool. So I'll have that in the description. Is it limited to just people, like will the knowledge there help me become a go high level SaaSpreneur, or will it help me also run my other SaaS if I have another SaaS?
I think a lot of the topics and everything will be applicable, but it is really geared around, in the context of high level. And we've had people, I mean, we've done this event last time, and, while I said it's geared toward those, we have kind of what you perceptionally think is like the most advanced of the advanced people who
Yeah.
are running, not only high level SaaS companies, but other software companies. they've also come into the event and they said they had a great time and learned a ton. Because what we're layering in is a lot of the topics that you and I spoke about.
Yeah.
It's kind of unorthodox. It doesn't make sense. It's not what you read in books or you see other companies
Yeah.
do. So we're sprinkling that all in there. So everybody walks away with like a lot of aha moments and a lot of ideas and things like that. And we actually put this event on in kind of a cool way where we're making sure the teams or the tables are spread out with different levels of experience, and so everyone we do a lot of group activity, a lot of group huddles and things like that, so you get a good balance of everyone working together.
Yeah, I asked that because I think there's a lack of SaaS events or quality ones, right?
Yeah.
So have you heard of MicroConf?
I haven't heard that actually.
So MicroConf is one of the big ones with micro SaaS people that start micro SaaS companies and whatnot, but they're very few, and like the energy of that SaaSpreneur, that room, is very different than everywhere else. There's a lot of realistic optimism,
Yeah, exactly.
there are rooms with a lot of optimism that's just all fluff, and then there's rooms with pessimism, and then there's rooms with realistic optimism, and I've seen that in SaaS rooms, and that's the only place I've seen. So it's a great feeling. I'm gonna try to make it. I don't know if I'll be available in early Feb, but
We'd love to have you there.
yeah, I'll put the link down, and yeah, guys, check out Highlevel, and that's Highlevel, go highlevel.com, and yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. So.